Let's talk about my career change. Now, as many of you will be aware, there's been a huge shift in the work I do, and you had a lot of questions, and I didn't answer any of them. I didn't give any information. I kind of keep my photography life, my YouTube life quite separate, but I think this is a relevant conversation. Now, for those who don't know, for the past few years, I have been a still life photographer. My career started off way back in 2009. But for the time that I've been on YouTube, whenever I've been on YouTube, I've been a still life photographer. I've shot products, food, drinks, anything that doesn't move, anything that doesn't talk. Now, what most of you won't be aware of is, for longer than I've been doing still life, I've actually been a portrait photographer. I started as a portrait and documentary photographer. I shot for magazines, I did editorials, I did the whole musicians thing, I went on tour, all that sort of thing. I did it all. And I stopped and I've restarted. So there's a few things we're going to look at here. One is why I've changed, and the other is why I changed in the first place. So let's start with that before I go into some of your comments, which I'll ping up here so you can see what you're in for. Have a nice little thoughtful pause whilst you read this bit here. But I'll probably leave the audio in because I'll forget to edit this out. But there we go. So way back in 2009, I picked up a camera. I had nothing going for myself. I had very little going on in my life. So I started taking pictures. It was a hobby. I enjoyed it, started taking pictures, and I enjoyed it. At some point, I was offered the opportunity to shoot McFly for a magazine cover for somebody who'd messed up their bookings, and I went and did that. It was a blast. I made some money. So I did that, and then someone offered me 300 quid for a wedding, and I was like, that's a lot of money. I'm working at a bar. This is much better. And I went to do that, and things slowly progressed over the years. I shot weddings with my mate Hits for years as his second shooter. I shot my own weddings. I did portraits, adverts, magazine covers. I shot for people like HSBC, Delhi France, people like that, quite big clients. I had an agent towards the end of it. But the lifestyle that came about with me working with musicians, being on tour, and photographing celebrities was not conducive to a long life. I was very much headed down a particular trajectory, and I wouldn't be long for this world if I'd have carried on doing that in the place that I was mentally and emotionally at that time in my life. So I stopped. I moved over to doing still life, and this coincided with getting a new girlfriend, children, all of that sort of stuff. I was like, this is over. I'm done with this. I don't want to go down that route. That's not the life I want for me. Let's go and do something more productive. I'll shoot still life. It will remove that stressful element, and it will remove some of the people I come into contact with. And that's when YouTube started. So despite my first YouTube video being horrific, but I started YouTube at the same time that I kind of started my still life journey. It was new to me, and YouTube was new to me as well. So we did both of them at the same time. It was a complete career shift. Now, that was it's quite a while ago, probably 5-6 years ago. And I've had a lot of success as a still life photographer. I've shot major worldwide campaigns, I've shot video, I've shot stills, I've done all sorts. I've not done everything I want to, but I've done all sorts. And I managed to create a very specific style of work, which really, I just love making. A few years back, I got the itch to do portraits again. And I went, no, do you know what? It's not for me. I'm going to leave it. It's just something I fancy doing. Maybe I'll do it as a hobby. About a year ago, I shot my first portrait in many years. And yes, there's been the odd ad campaign where people have been involved, but that's a very different thing. It's all very controlled, very contrived. But I shot my first portrait with a friend called Polly, who's a musician. She came down, did some pictures. She needed some promo stuff. And I was like, this is a great opportunity to get back into this. I shot it. I loved it. I put this single image in my portfolio. It looked really out of place. And I carried on like nothing had happened. I spoke to my agent, Pete. I spoke to my agent, Andy. And I spoke to my agent, Karen. And all three of them said, yeah, you should give it a shot. And I thought, yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I'll give it another go. So I planned. I did nothing. And then finally I went, stuff it. I put my finger on the calendar, went, this day here, it's happening. I'm booking in 4 people. What actually transpired was booking in 11 people over 2 days, plus have my agent come down, assistants, editors, behind the scenes footage, the whole shebang. And we shot a body of portrait work in my style. I was incredibly stressed the day before. I was incredibly ill for the week after. But I got it done, and I think I enjoyed it. I don't know that I enjoyed it. I can't be certain that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the outcome of it. Whether I enjoyed the shoot or not, I don't know, so we are going to do it again and see. But I now have an entire page on my website dedicated to portraits because we shot a lot, which is probably why I got ill. Now, why am I making this change? This is probably what's interesting you. And what I'm going to do now to answer that is answer the questions that you put in the comments, because I think that's the best way to do it. And I've picked the comments that were either the spiciest or the most regularly asked. Let's start with something nice and spicy though, shall we? I would quite like to hear how you now tell prospective commercial photographers to have their voice, their style, and stick with it. Now you are diversifying into portraits because your voice and style isn't getting you work, or at least not enough work. That'd be interesting. Now that's a bit of a comment, but it's a relevant one. So let's dive into that. How do I reconcile? I don't have to reconcile what I do with other people at all. I do what I want to do. If I decide tomorrow I want to be a painter, I mean, God help anyone else to look at it, but I'm going to go and be a painter. That's what I want to do. However, to answer that question specifically, how do I say you need a style and then I go and shoot something else? Well, the easy answer to that is I still have the same style. For sure, the subject matter might have changed, but my style hasn't. But that'd be like saying, how do you reconcile shooting food, drinks, product, still life? It's all different things. The subject matter might change, but my style remains the same. Whether I'm photographing a watch or a person, it looks the same. And then about not making enough money anymore from still life and all the rest of it, I'm going to tackle a lot of these questions in one go with this one. Am I doing this because money is not coming in? Am I doing this because I no longer make enough money? Am I doing this because it's more lucrative than still life? So let's look at that. Is it more lucrative than still life? Absolutely not. Still life is one of the most lucrative genres of photography. And also it's not an AI thing. I'm not worried about AI stealing my still life work. That's not going to happen. I am not worried about that. That is not a thing. It will pay far less. It'll always pay less. Still life campaigns are always huge. There are more portrait campaigns or people related campaigns, but they pay less. So it's not that. Is it because I'm not making enough money and I need to do more things? No, not really. It's doesn't really affect me like that. It's if anything, I'll be losing money soon, but we'll get to that question in a bit. But yeah, it's nothing to do with money. It is exclusively to do with I wanted to do it. And I think that's as good a rationale as any if you have the funds and the time. I'm not saying go and spend thousands on a test shoot just because you fancy it. Make sure you actually have, the minerals to back it up first. But yeah, that's not the reason why. You see, I've got my laptop here, I don't own a teleprompter, so maybe Neuro or someone should send me one. I see only one photo here. Isn't this something generative AI can replicate easy? Not sure about the rest of the images. No, generative AI can't replicate it easily at all. I may have missed the podcast, but can you explain the reason behind the career change? Is it the state of the market? No, but the state of the market is horrific this year. It is. Last year was the worst year since 2008. This year is worse, for sure. Now, this is a very good question because I didn't explain it fully because I edited it out of the final video. In my previous video showing you the shoot, I said this could be catastrophic for my career, and they wanted to know why. Surely you'd simply go back to what was working before. Here's why this is a huge risk, and I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have the financial backing to do so, if you already have a stable career that you're relying on solely financially. Here is why. I have been marketing myself to specific clients for years. I am now going to need to market myself to new clients. Not just that, but I'm going to have to market a new body of work to new clients. Yes, it still looks like me, but it's new. I can only market to these people so many times in a month before it's just noise. In marketing this new work, I am no longer marketing my old work. If I market the two together, it won't have the impact to give it the jump start. Whichever way I look at this, until midway through next year, this single test shoot will have a huge impact on my income. Sure, old clients will come back, but it's the new business we'll be losing on. It's going to be very hard to bring in lots of new business from people who don't already know us for the still life work, which is where we make our money, the majority of it at least. Obviously, we make some from here, some from workshops, and hopefully some from these portraits, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. It is a huge financial risk and it could catastrophically backfire, but I've done the maths. I can afford for it to backfire. And then, yeah, we'll worry about the future after that. Am I moving away from product photography? Absolutely not. I've got 3 shoots coming up, which is product related. I've got 2 test shoots coming up, which are product related, or still life, food, drink, whatever you want to call it, like non-movie peoples, non-people shots. I've got loads of that coming up. I'm still very motivated to keep shooting that. But obviously, since doing this test shoot, all my thought processing has gone into people work because it's new, it's exciting, it's shiny, and yeah, something different. And you've got to keep moving, otherwise you will stagnate very quickly. Now, this is an interesting one because I didn't know about this, but I do have a theory on this. Is it because of the up-and-coming ban on junk food advertising before 9 PM? Now, I'm of a generation that doesn't watch TV, so I have no idea what junk food advertising goes on. However, I don't shoot much TV work, so I don't see it affecting me in that way. But even if it did, junk food companies would find ways around it. They would advertise their salads before 9 PM, and still it would be a junk food company with a salad. So yeah, there's always a way around it. They're still got to make money. They're still got to sell stuff. And although the government have this ban in place, they still want the tax money from those sales. So they're not going to kill the industry. So there's a lot of the questions answered. So it has nothing to do with my income. It has nothing to do with the state of the industry. It has nothing to do with the profitability of people versus still life. It has nothing to do with new laws. It is purely, I wanted to do it. And I should have said that in the video originally, really, because why would anyone assume that? There's quite a privileged, it's quite the privileged thing to say. Yeah, I fancied it. I thought I'd give it a go. Just, tip things upside down for a bit in the most chaotic year in the industry. But then it's a bad year anyway. Why not make it worse? How much worse can it get? I am going to keep going with these. I may even start a new channel just to show it, because I know a lot of you on here are mostly interested in still life. Maybe not so much the portrait side of things. I don't know. We'll chuck some portrait videos up on this channel, see how it goes, I guess. But if it really tanks, we'll separate it and have like a portrait channel or something like that. Now that I've got many hands in here making light work on the shoots, we can film behind the scenes and I can voice over it, whatever it may be. But there we go. That is why we're doing it. Now, for those who want to see the new body of work, it is available. It's online now. It's not finished. Some of them aren't even fully edited, but they're on the website. So if it's worth doing badly. It's better to have an unedited version out that gets you a job than no version out that gets you no jobs. So we've got those out there. More will be coming. More will be shot. And I've also, for those who are interested and want to see what my portrait work looked like before this, I do have a published portrait page, and I will try and put a link to that down below. I'll probably forget, but I'm sure it's like /people2 or /people. But yeah, have a look at that if you're interested. That should show you what I did before. And then you can see my still life work, and on my overview page of my website, you can see all of it mixed together. And I think it works quite harmoniously. There's bits I'm not happy with, but I'm going to do a full review of my new work when it's finished. Anyway, hope it answers your questions. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.